In this video, we're going to look at a karate combination using 3 techniques we find referenced, described and shown in the old texts. The first one is technique 13 of the Bubishi's 48 fighting techniques, which is called like a blue dragon that suddenly appears, or a blue dragon that strikes without warning. The next one is the Nodo-Osae or throat press throw, shown in Gichin Funakoshi's 1925 book Rentan Goshin Karate Jutsu. And finally, we're going to finish the technique with Ebi-Gatame, which is a leg-locking technique that Funakoshi makes reference to in his book Karate Do My Way of Life. When Funakoshi is describing Okinawan wrestling, he says, "Okinawan wrestling has certain unique features. As with karate, its origins are unknown, and many Okinawans suppose that there must be a relationship of sorts between the two. The Okinawan name for our style of wrestling is Tagumi, and should you write the word, you would use the same 2 Chinese characters that are used to write karate's kumite, except that they are reversed." Funakoshi then goes on to say, "One technique that I recall very well was similar to the Ebi-Gatame of today's professional wrestling." In this video, you can see all 3 techniques put end to end to form a traditional karate combination.
Funakoshi makes a passing reference to a number of techniques in a section of his book Karate Do My Way of Life, where he's talking about Okinawan wrestling or Tagumi. And he's saying about how he trained in it a lot when he was a child, and he talks about doing it to unconsciousness or submission. He talks about doing it against multiple opponents. He tells us that such drills provide a unique opportunity for karateka. He talks about the link between Tagumi and karate, you know, how the 2 arts kind of related or interfused. And one of the techniques he describes is a technique called Ebi-Gatame. Right? And he says that when he watches wrestling and he sees Ebi-Gatame, it reminds him of the techniques that he used in Okinawa in his youth. Right? He lists a few others, like leg blocking and 3/4 Nelsons and other stuff he lists, but Ebi-Gatame is one of them. So Ebi-Gatame meaning shrimp hold. You'll see why in a minute if you haven't seen it before. There's a 2-legged version and a 1-legged version. What we're going to do now is the 1-legged version. All right? So we're using this kind of entry, which is what Funakoshi describes in his book Karate Jutsu. You know, he talks about knocking the arm across, other arm coming in through to the throat, which is this throat press technique. That, as we mentioned, is a technique in the Bubishi called blue dragon strikes without warning. And then push and grab that hand. Right? Then making sure that he falls okay. The forearm goes right in the blade, as we talked about. Blade the forearm right in the back of the heel. I'm grabbing my own hand, pull it in really tight, and I'm lifting up from here. The reason I want that is because I want that reaction. I don't know if you turn around a bit. Right. What I'm then going to do is I want to roll him over. So I'm not just using force, I'm going to turn the angle of the pushing the Achilles tendon, so the direction he wants to move away from does this. So he wants to roll onto his belly. Well, he doesn't want to do it, but he doesn't want his ankle to snap either. You see what I mean? So we're in that position there, and as you do, you step across with this foot here. That's the motion to start it off. And then just continue it. Now, if you look at this point, Heiko's starting to look a little bit shrimp-like. You know, so shrimp hold. If I then sit back from here, pull back, that would be the technique that Funakoshi describes from his youth. Smiling too much, you just worry me when people grin at that technique. so we've got Nodo-Osae, or the blue dragon strikes that one, that's the start of it. Catch the ankle, throw at him, and you're just running backwards. But you have to come through, just let me balance it down. Take hold of the ankle, forearm right underneath, grab the back of the hand, lift again and going. Turn that way, using the ankle to do it. Roll through, step back. There's your submission. Definitely a fighting technique more than a self-defense technique. It's one we would use for one martial artist versus another martial artist. In a real fight, you don't want to be sitting there putting ankle locks on because his friend will just run up and kick you in the head. But for historical interest and for fighting and for general knowledge, there's one that Funakoshi talks about. So all of that, you know, the motion in is mentioned in Funakoshi's book and it's shown in the Bubishi. The takedown is one that Funakoshi shows in one of the first ever commercially published books on karate. And the finish, that ankle lock, is one that Funakoshi describes as being used in Okinawa in his youth in the Karate Do My Way of Life book. But if you were to show it to most people, they wouldn't recognise that as karate, but it definitely is. Because we've got all the historical evidence to prove that, to show that. And it's fun anyway, so let's do it. Everyone okay to give that one a go? Okay, thank you.